Thank you very much for joining our itinerary building session this morning. I have 3 panelists with me today. I have Chris Wright, Managing Director at Sunville, Chris Lorenzo, Managing Director at Seafarer Cruising and Sailing Holidays, and Anthony Barton, Product Brand Manager for Explore. So thank you to the 3 of you for joining me this morning. I'm going to go with Chris L and Chris W, just for ease. Hopefully that's all right with you guys. During this session today, to all our viewers, so that you know what is coming up, we're going to look at how to build itineraries for clients with different interests, spanning beaches, food, history, and culture. We've got a short section on island hopping and how to pick the right destinations for your customers. And we'll also look at itinerary building for families and the luxury market in particular. As I know Eleni said, the luxury market is particularly booming at the moment. If you do have questions for our panel, please do pop them in the chat box. I'll be manning that throughout the session, and we'll be slotting those into our pre-existing questions that we have on the agenda. So first, I want to just ask a few introductory questions about your brands and companies so that everyone knows what you guys do. So Chris W., will you please tell us about Sunville? And what makes the operator an expert in curating Greek holiday itineraries, and what makes you best placed to be giving agents advice today?
Morning, everybody. Thank you for having me on the panel. I think from Sunville's perspective, whatever you want from a holiday to Greece, we can accommodate it. And I think we cover over 59 islands and most of the mainland of Greece, and everything from simple cottages on remote Greek islands through to 5-star luxury or modern villas. And we can do fly drive itineraries, classic island hopping, and anything from history through to sort of nature lovers, and that sort of thing. So we really can cover the full spectrum of holidays. We've even now introduced travel to Greece by train, which is really popular at the moment. Between the team in the UK and our local representatives over in Greece, we've travelled to most of Greece, and over sort of a lot of our staff have been with us for sort of 30 years plus, and really know the hidden gems and the different breathtaking viewpoints that not many other people know about. So we can create a memory no matter what the clients are looking for.
Amazing, thank you. And Chris L., can you give us an overview of the Seafarer Cruising and Sailing Holidays product in Greece, in case agents aren't familiar with the brand?
Yes, absolutely. Good morning, everybody, and pleasure to be here with you this morning. So Seafarer, for the last 27 years, has been a specialist in yachting. We are, in effect, a one-stop shop for everything to do with nautical tourism. We offer small ship cruises. One thing we don't offer is large cruise ships. It's not part of our philosophy, if you like, and it's all about small and friendly, and that starts with our mega yacht or small ship cruises, which typically have 40 to 50 passengers on board and get you to the places that big ships can't go. We then have our sailing products, where there's the option to self-sail if one is qualified, to learn to sail if you're not, with our RYA sailing schools, or to charter a yacht with a full crew who can do possibly just a skipper, but otherwise with a full crew so that there's more service on board. And this can be a large glitzy motor yacht, or it can be a small 30-foot sailing yacht with 2 cabins. So it covers the full range, and covers all budgets. So as I say, all things yachting. Greece really does lend itself to this type of holiday. It is probably, although there are rivals, it is probably the number one destination in the world in terms of the sheer choice of places to visit, the itineraries that one can enjoy. And there is probably nowhere else that offers that mix of wonderful destinations, idyllic conditions for sailing and yachting, that mixture of history and culture, together with the natural beauty and the idyllic conditions, makes it probably quite unique in the world. So hasn't realized its potential yet, and the feeling is that actually the trade hasn't realized the potential of yachting. and what it offers. And it's all about getting to the places that you otherwise would probably never see. Some of the places we visit, even the ferries only go once a week.
Wow, amazing. Well, introduction to seafarer today then, and yachting in Greece. Exciting. So, Anthony, coming to you, what is Explore's approach to Greek product? I mean, what do you look for when considering what fits the programme?
Yeah. Thanks, Maddie. So just a bit of a recap. Explore is a small group adventure operator. We offer discovery tours, family trips, walking and cycling holidays. So I guess for each program, it's going to be a slightly different focus. But I guess, generically speaking, of course, we're going to include well-known highlands. So if you're going to the Peloponnese, for example, we're certainly going to make sure that we include Olympia, Mycenae, all the main classic sites. But for me, having done lucky enough to do a fair bit of traveling, it's those hidden moments. So I love traveling by public transport. I love going on ferries. I love going on trains, and just the interactions that you have with locals or tourists. It could be going to a market and trying new foods that you haven't tried before. That for me is really exciting. Of course, the big highlights are great to see, but it's those moments which you weren't quite expecting, which just take you by surprise, and we try and build those into all the trips that we operate.
Okay, fantastic. I completely agree with you there. Absolutely. But let's move on to talking about itinerary building by interest. So this is what interest your client might have. So we're going to start with the obvious. Greece is an incredibly popular destination for beach breaks, of course. And while we could sit here and discuss the most visited beach break destinations all day, it's wiser from a sustainability perspective to talk through some of the lesser visited beach break destinations that can offer experiences just as good or sometimes even better than the most famous hotspots. So, Chris W., I'm going to come to you first. What are the off the beaten track destinations that you'd recommend for agents and their customers considering a Greek beach break?
Just by way of introduction, just wanted to highlight that Greece has been named as the number 2 in the world for the number of blue flag beaches. So there's really a huge amount of beaches to choose from. And another sort of important thing to note is that even on the bigger islands, so the Corfus and the Kefalonias, there's always a sort of a hidden beach that you can sort of locate where nobody knows about it apart from those that are in the know, and our representatives or local agents can point you in the right direction for those sort of things. But looking at sort of completely off the beaten track, places like Elefonisos, the beaches there are reminiscent of the Caribbean, and yet the islands have managed to avoid mass tourism. Lemnos in the north is a wonderful island that's retained its Greek character, and despite us having a direct flight once a week, the beaches there have sort of remained untouched by sort of mass tourism, and you get huge long expanses of sand there. And then if you look at the islands that are just a short ferry hop from main gateways, so places like Telos, 2 hours from Rhodes, Andros or Kithnos, a couple of hours by ferry from Athens. So yeah, there's a huge amount to choose from, and even sort of Crete, which is one of the destinations that people think of as a sort of a large island. We offer places like Lutro there, which is down on the south coast, which is completely car free. So that's a good one to look at. And then on the mainland, people often forget about the Greek mainland. You've got places like the Peloponnese, which I'll come on to later to talk about history, which has got some great beaches. And then down the Ionian coast, Civita and Parga, got gorgeous sort of turquoise bays there. And they've got quite an international sort of cosmopolitan clientele that tend to go there because they can drive. So you've got a real different style, and yet you can find some sort of lesser known places to have a beach holiday.
Okay, fantastic. And Chris L., coming to you next. I imagine yachting is incredible, offers some opportunities to visit some really exclusive destinations, and maybe some that are inaccessible by land-based modes of transport. Are you able to share some highlights that agents might be able to tap into?
Yes, certainly. The beauty of being on a yacht is that you can truly go and discover places. It's all about exploration. But we typically on, let's say, flotilla holidays, where you're in effect with a lead boat that acts as your tour guide, get to show places that it would be very, very difficult to find. And in each of the island groups that we sail, so starting with the Ionian, but the same in the Sporades, in the Saronic Islands, in the Dodecanese, there are uninhabited or almost uninhabited places with stunning beaches. Although a lot of the time when you're on a yacht, the beach is less important to you. It's the crystal clear waters, the clarity of the water when you go snorkeling, and how you can enjoy the bays and the marine environment and marine life. But just to give some examples, if you're in the Sporades, just off Scathos, there's an uninhabited island called Sungria, which is beautiful sandy beach. Another one which has a single monk living on the island, an island called Kirapanaya. Again, you would never go there. There's no other way of reaching these places than by yacht, and that's the beauty of yachting, that you get to find coves and beaches that you would otherwise never see.
Okay, great. Lee Harrison has put a question for you, Chris Lorenzo, in the chat. Do you offer yachting or sailing two centre holidays? So we're kind of 1 week sailing and 1 week stay, I assume means on land there. So you offer kind of a mixture of the two, or is it just holidays on the water that you're offering?
It's certainly the case that you can do two centre, and you can do a week either on a small ship cruise or on a yacht, and a week in a villa, a hotel, or an apartment. That's very popular because often it satisfies, let's say, two different needs in a family, where somebody's keen on yachting and somebody wants something different. And there's also the opportunity to do beach-based sailing, where instead of being on a yacht and living on the yacht, you're in a hotel where you can sail all day on smaller craft, such as on a beach, such as dinghies, catamarans, windsurfers, and so on.
Okay, and would you package that up for agents, or would they?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. These are standard packages. The sail and stay, cruise and stay are standard packages. Although the tailor-made service is also there.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Kina has put a question here for everyone. She's asking about the availability of your product to unvaccinated customers. So I kind of, what are the options for unvaccinated customers? Anthony, can I come to you first for Explore?
Good question. Good question. You've put me on the spot there, Maddie. So I'm probably going to have to defer this one, actually, because in terms of COVID vaccinations and the status for Greece, I'd rather not give the wrong advice.
Okay.
So I'm going to pass that, if I may.
Yep. Chris and Sunville, do you know? Can you able to offer?
Yeah, so I flew in yesterday into Previsa, and there's no sort of checks on departure from the UK anymore, and no checks on arrival into Greece. So yeah, we're now in a stage where vaccination certificates are no longer required, and there's no checks to get into and out of tavernas and that sort of thing. So the only thing that's still in place is mask wearing, but that's due to be abolished from the 1st of June. And being on the ground down here, there's very little. You're supposed to wear it going through the airport terminal and on public transport and that sort of thing. But yeah, other than that, it's no real issues at the moment.
Okay. And Chris, does Seafarer have any unvaccinated, vaccinated COVID requirements for to go on your holidays?
Well, to enter the country, of course, those restrictions, as Chris W. said, have been recently lifted, but it's still the case that to go on a cruise, whether a larger one or a yacht cruise, the type where you're sharing with other guests, the cruise lines are actually imposing the risk that the rule that vaccination is required, and that's to minimize risks when you're living in close quarters with others. Obviously, with yachting, you're usually in your own social bubble, so there are no restrictions there at all. And it's often a choice for people who are looking for that kind of safety, let's say. But it's only the cruise industry and that's pretty much international. The cruise industry still requires vaccination certificates and actually testing pre-embarkation as well, which is often provided on the quayside.
Okay, great, thank you. Tracy is asking specifically about a couple of destinations at the Olympus Riviera Paralia area and Mount Olympus itself. She's asking if you cover those, if that features in any of your holidays. Chris W, you're nodding. Would you like?
Yeah, we do. We either do it as a standalone sort of break, or we can include it as part of a fly drive itinerary. So it's quite a popular one, Mount Olympus.
Okay, fab. And Anthony, do you know if Explore covers those specific areas?
We don't at the moment. We are, looking at our programs, and certainly with the popularity of Greece this year and how we, view, that increasing. We're certainly looking at bringing in some new programs in the next couple of years.
Okay, great, thank you. Right, so moving on to a different type of interest that customers are likely to have, which is going to be history and culture. Obviously, Greece has fascinating history and culture, and it's often a must experience for anyone visiting the country. I would be interested to hear what you would say are some of the most rewarding themes to follow when it comes to making suggestions for the more adventurous traveller or cultural tourist in Greece. What are the must-dos when clients are considering Greece for a first-timer and then someone returning in search of something even more enriching? Anthony, can I come back to you for that one?
Yes, yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure viewers will be aware. Of course, the Greek islands are quite rightly one of the major draws, and rightly so. I think for us, we've seen post-pandemic, we've seen a real increase in the amount of customers looking for more active trips. I think during lockdown, people going out on their bikes and exploring past around their own homes, and looking to actually when they're going on holiday to try out cycling and walking holidays. And I think that given the fact that I think Greece is really well set up for this, we're seeing we've seen a lot of demand for walking holidays. We offer programs in Crete. Also, we offer the Corfu Trail as well. So I think that's an area which is definitely on the up. And I guess the other area is, and I think Chris from Sunbelt alluded to this earlier, that the mainland I think is often overlooked. So the Peloponnese Peninsula, those who've got a keen interest in history and the archaeological sites, I think that there's massive scope to promote that as a destination, maybe in combination with the Greek islands as part of a two-centre, 1 week in the mainland, 1 week on the islands. So I think that's another good option as well.
Great, thank you. So focusing more on the kind of history and culture, Chris W, we're going to come to you. Which destinations do you typically send holidaymakers to when they're interested in history and culture?
Just in sort of following on from what Anthony said, really, Peloponnese is the best. We always put that forward as the one where you can get a general overview, especially on history, as it's the birthplace of Greek mythology. And it's littered with famous sites such as Olympia, Mycenae, Delphi, and it's also sort of lesser known sites such as Nemea, Epidavros, and Mycenae. Nemea, for instance, is the birthplace of the Olympics, and this year we've got the Nemean Games happening in a couple of weeks' time, and we've got groups of people go down and they get the chance to sort of run in an Olympic stadium on sand barefoot. And that sort of thing. So that's a really good introduction to anything to do with history and culture. We do a lot of fly drive itineraries, sort of so you can sort of take yourself between different sites. And basically, when clients come through or agents come through and say, "This is what my customer wants to do," whether it's a detailed sort of plan in their head of "we must see this, this, and this," or they just come through and they want some advice, we can put something together that covers as many or as few sort of destinations as possible. The interesting thing then, down sort of some of the other islands, you tend to find that even sort of in places where you don't think there's sort of too much history or culture, there's always something to do. So Samos, for instance, you've got Pythagoria, and sort of then the Athens and the Thessaloniki, and when you're looking at city breaks, I was in Athens a couple of weeks ago, and we were trying to put some sort of city breaks together where you get really immersed rather than just going and sort of visiting the Acropolis and that sort of thing. Get really immersed in the experience and sort of get under the bonnet and actually come away feeling that you've sort of had a fun time and learned about the history and culture rather than just playing at lip service. So a real good mix.
Absolutely, thank you. Okay, and Chris L, do your sailing and yachting holidays take in any culturally or historically significant sites? And can you just talk us through the sites they might visit, if so, and which itineraries they feature on?
Okay, so the cruises that we offer often focus on either historical cultural themes. For example, we have, echoing what Chris W. and Anthony said, we have a cruise that circumnavigates the Peloponnese. It's called From Antiquity to Byzantium, and that takes in all the famous sites, certainly the ancient ones, but also highlights the connection between the classical period, then through the Roman period and onto the Byzantine period, and follows that connection and visits some of the famous Byzantine sites as well, such as Mistra on the Peloponnese, which is little known and really spectacular. Other theming, focusing on other aspects. Again, with cruises, we have a wine cruise, and that's actually a theme of the TTG Greece Fest, I believe, on Thursday, where there's a wine expert hosting an event in London. But that same expert is actually accompanying one of our cruises, and perhaps little known, because I think the best Greek wines probably consumed largely by the Greeks. It's a bit of a well-kept secret, but there are world-class wines in Greece, and some fabulous wineries. A combination of the mainland Nemea wine is internationally renowned, but also islands like Samos, Santorini, Andros, and others, well known for their wine. And this wine-themed cruise, again, is an immersive experience where it also brings in local gastronomy, all hosted by an expert with visits to wineries and so on. So that kind of thing features strongly on some of the themed cruises. There's also the opportunity for more innovative agents to actually put their own program together, chartering a vessel. So when you have a vessel that takes 40 to 50 people, that really lends itself to theming or special interest. And we've had cruises that have focused on photography, on art, or on some of on the natural environment. For example, volcanology, with all the volcano sites that we have in Greece, such as Santorini, Nisyros, and so on. So lots and lots of opportunity there.
Okay, so hearing about that wine themed cruise brings us on nicely to talk about gastronomy focused itinerary building. And because obviously food is a huge draw of many visitors to Greece. So let's talk first about itineraries that are geared up to foodies, or the gastronomic experiences that customers can have in Greece. Anthony, does Explore have any food focused itineraries or experiences that are particularly good that agents could use in an itinerary?
Absolutely, Maddie. I mean, I'm a massive foodie. I think for me, one of the things I enjoy most about traveling is trying out new dishes. I get really excited about that. And yeah, I mean, the food's a big theme across all the trips that we offer at Explore. So whether it's a case of when we're just outside of Delphi, we go to a small farm which produces the most delicious honey, and we get to learn about the production, and of course we get to taste it and get the chance to buy some, take some home as well. Or it could be on the island of Naxos, where we go to this fourth generation distillery, which they produce this most amazing citron liqueur. And I think what I really enjoy about this is actually the passion that the family have, and going out into the lemon groves, and actually seeing the lemons growing in the fields, and then actually going into the distillery and learning about the whole process, and then tasting it as well. So it's all about bringing it to life, learning about the productions, but also in being inspired by the owners of these small producers, it's a big part of the trips which we do. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. We're all for supporting small producers as well. That's great from a sustainability perspective too. So fab to hear. Chris W, I'm going to come to you next and ask about Sunville's kind of foodie offering. Are you able to give us any tips for choosing an itinerary for a customer focused on getting a kind of true taste of Greece? What are your tips for foodie customers?
Yeah, I think we've, as with a lot of things, Sunville was ahead of its time when doing this sort of thing, and even sort of 30 years ago when I was working out in Greece, we were already offering sort of visit to a local cheese producer and honey and that sort of thing. So it's always been in our program, but we're finding over the last few years that it's people are wanting a little bit more. People are wanting to embed it as part of their holiday rather than just maybe a one-off evening out and that sort of thing. So I was down in Athens a couple of weeks ago, and we were looking at food tours, and there's some amazing sort of street food and that sort of thing that you can incorporate in a food tour of Athens. Thessaloniki, if you're looking for a slightly smaller city, is a huge culinary hotspot, and it's got a blend of East and Western flavours and traditions. So there's a real melting pot of different cultures there. Crete, right down in the south, is supposed to be the home of the Mediterranean diet, and down in Crete you get a real sense that you've got a sort of a Middle Eastern influence in the food down there, and yeah, places like Ikaria over on the west is also renowned for its Mediterranean diet, and it's one of the world famous blue zone places. And Lesbos, home of Ouzo, Samos, home of Metaxa. So yeah, no, I think no matter where you choose in Greece, there's always a food element that you can introduce, and each destination has its specific dish, I think, which is another great thing. And I think quite often tourists will come and sort of stick to the same sort of basics that they think is a Greek diet, but you can really sort of get under the bonnet and ask about what the local sort of delicacy is. Here in Corfu, you've got things like cigarelli, which is sort of a spicy spinach dish, so excellent for vegetarians as well. And the quality of food over the last few years has just had a real sort of uplift, especially as the younger generations are coming through, and you can really see the quality of food sort of lifting. So still those traditional dishes, but just being elevated to another level, really.
Fantastic. Okay, so viewers, just so you know, there is the gastronomic masterclass tomorrow morning, so you can hear much more about Greece's food experiences then. But thank you, Chris, for sharing that insight today. We're now going to move on to island hopping. Chris L, I'm going to come to you first for this, because obviously sailing and yachting is an incredible way to do island hopping. And also wondering, what tips do you have for agents creating an itinerary that visits multiple islands over a period of time, say a week? How would you go about pairing these destinations, and do you have any recommendations for building an island hopping itinerary?
Okay, so with sailing, it's all about choosing a destination that fits, first of all, the level of experience that clients have. If they're out first time, they won't want to experience anything particularly challenging. And I'd say the majority of clients that would go to agents will be new to the concept of yachting. And from that point of view, they won't have had previous experience of sailing, probably in the UK or anywhere, and the whole thing will be new to them. Otherwise, they'd probably be seeking out a specialist agent. So if we're looking at people that are new to this, the idyllic conditions for beginners are in the Ionian Islands. Moderate conditions, generally light winds, calm seas, and of course a lot of scope for itineraries. The two yachting hotspots in terms of the starting off point are the island of Lefkas, where you'd fly into Preveza, or the island of Corfu, flying in directly to Corfu. Both are big centres for yachting, and both present fantastic opportunities for varied itineraries, visiting islands well known and unknown. So, for example, if you're sailing out of Lefkas, You can get to Kefalonia, you can get to Zakynthos, you can get to Ithaca, but then you can get to really tiny islands like Meganisi, Kastos, and Kalamos, which most people have never heard of, and they are really, really small. You can also, by the way, visit Skorpios, or sail past and swim there. The island made famous by the Onassis family, who owned it privately. Other areas that lend themselves for people coming into yachting for the first time, I'd say the Saronic Islands, where you would fly into Athens and either start from Athens or a couple of other bases. We have a base just on the Peloponnese near Corinth. There's another on the island of Poros, which is easily reached from Athens by hydrofoil. Again, moderate conditions, lots of different places to explore, both on the mainland Peloponnese coast and on the islands. Hydra, Poros, Spetsis, Aegina, Gistri, just a few uninhabited islands like Dokos. The Eastern Aegean, again, really lends itself, although there probably will appeal to people with more experience, because the winds can be stronger, the conditions can be more challenging, and they're ideal for people who are into sailing. With the yacht cruises, of course, they're big enough to actually cope with these conditions, and it matters not whether you have previous experience. In fact, it's a cruise, albeit a mini cruise on a 50-passenger vessel. These are stabilized. The Variety Cruises mega yachts are all stabilized vessels. And so any of the areas are ideal. And there are itineraries exploring all the way down to Crete, as well as the Peloponnese coast and the Cycladic Islands.
Fantastic. I can see that Jane is off island hopping tomorrow, she says in the chat. So have a fantastic time, Jane. And Natalie says, I just left Corfu looking like a kumquat. So I hope you'll have to stock up on your factor 50 for your next visit, Natalie. Okay, so sticking with island hopping, Chris W., I noticed you have a range of island hopping itineraries on your website. Are you able to talk us through those and what types of customer they're going to appeal to?
Yeah, I think the last 2 years of being locked away for many people, we've seen a real surge in people interested in island hopping, and perhaps those that have previously thought about it and maybe gone and done it themselves. We're seeing a lot of customers coming to us and wanting us to put them together with those sort of hand holding, which is what we do best, really. So places like the Saronic Islands, Hydra, they're the ones that are close to Athens, and so they're good for those that want to combine island hopping with a city break. So you can do a few nights in Athens and then jump over to the islands for a few nights. Cyclades in the central Aegean are the ones that are classically known for their Greek islands, and anybody whose parents went island hopping in the 70s, that's probably where they would have gone. And they're the islands really where you've got the blue dome churches, windmills, pretty harbour, fishing villages, and that sort of thing, and the fabulous sandy beaches. So those are the ones that include Santorini and Mykonos. But what we tend to find is that because Santorini and Mykonos are very busy, we tend to use those as gateways to get into the Cyclades before then hopping on to other islands. So normally people would fly into Santorini, maybe have a night there and experience the caldera and the sunsets and the views, the famous views there. But then just as quickly they would dive off to other islands and then come back to Santorini or Mykonos at the end before sort of heading home. In the east, close to Turkey, we've got the quieter Dodecanese islands. So you would sort of normally come into Rhodes or Kos for those. And we're finding a real surge in those at the moment, in that people have either been to the other islands and want to look at something different, or they're looking for a quieter experience. And so we're especially this summer, we're finding a real surge in people wanting to experience the Dodecanese. And then Chris alluded to it, but the Ionian Islands often get forgotten when people are looking at island hopping. But there are sort of possibilities to sort of come into Corfu and hop down the Ionian and fly out of Zakynthos. There's new boat services that make that easier. So they shouldn't be forgotten. And sort of for those that are looking for a sort of a quieter experience, older clients, we tend to find that the Ionian suits that quite well as well.
Okay, interesting. Thank you. I mean, I know there's so much to choose from. With as Sophie said in the previous session, almost 6,000 islands in Greece, so it's quite a daunting task. So thank you for outlining those. Anthony, I'm going to come to you next and ask about Explore. How would Explore customers typically want to see islands? Do you have any tips in terms of distance or client expectations, or good combinations that agents might want to pair up, and what your itineraries would include in terms of travel?
Yeah. Well, we offer a choice of 2 island hopping trips. We've got a 1-week trip starting in Athens, and that includes the islands of Naxos and Santorini. We've also got a 15-day tour as well that also goes to Naxos and Santorini and goes to Syros and Paros as well. All of these are based using public ferries, and we're increasingly using public transport wherever possible. We've made a commitment as part of the Glasgow Declaration to reduce our carbon footprint by 50%. So that's something that's very much a key focus with us here at Explore. I think for my personal favourite actually is an island tour that we do just off the coast of Athens to Evia, and I think for me why I love this trip it's using a traditional kaiki cruise boat, and it's the personality we have leading the trip. A guy called Thanos, who's such a massive personality. He's larger than life character. Wherever we stop each night, we visit one of the local tavernas, and everybody seems to know him, and there's warm embraces all around, and it's just such a it's a beautiful part, beautiful part of the world, and just very laid back, and it's a trip that sells really well, and I think it's that sort of personal experience that you get, led by a real character that really makes it a fun favorite for me.
Okay, amazing. Thank you. Now, I am conscious of time. We said we would finish this session at 11:40, but we've still got the family markets and luxury markets to talk through. So I hope everyone doesn't mind if we run over slightly. If you do need to shoot off, don't worry. Remember, the content is available to watch on demand, so you can come back and watch the rest of the session if you need to shoot off. So moving on to families first. Chris L, I notice on your website you offer sailing holidays specifically for families. Can you talk us through what makes these suitable for children, what ages, and how they differ from other types of cruise that would not be family focused?
Yeah. So there is no lower age limit, really, in the sense that it's up to the family to decide. I started taking my son sailing when he was just over a year old. He was with his baby life jacket, and he was perfectly safe. But it starts with learning to sail, and probably beach-based holidays, the so-called beach club, where one can learn dinghy sailing, windsurfing, and so on. That's the obvious family choice. There's specifically a kids club available. And I'd say in little craft like Optimists, children can start sailing from as young as 7, sailing in their own little boat, all closely monitored by RYA UK qualified instructors. But families go on yachting holidays as well. And it's a great opportunity for the family to spend time together, and get involved in an activity that brings them together, actually, because being on a yacht is all about teamwork. And lots of families really enjoy doing that. And of course, there's something for everybody, because you stop somewhere, you can go swimming, snorkeling, play around on a paddleboard, go exploring ashore, and so on, or enjoy the sun with a good book. So there's something for everyone. The yacht cruises, for example, variety cruises, again tend to appeal to families that want to spend time together, rather than looking for something where they can palm off the kids on activities and then do their own thing. And we find that families with children that are probably 8 and above enjoy this immersive cruise experience where they all go off exploring together, get under the skin of these fascinating off the beaten track destinations. And it works very well for families that want to do that and want to do activities and do exploring together.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to hop back to island hopping for a second, because we've had a question from Claire McGregor in the chat box. She's asking, do you offer any island hopping itineraries that would take in Paxos? If one of you wants to give me a nod if that's the case.
Yep.
Angie? Yeah, Chris? Yeah, do you want to talk about the summer?
Yeah, I think we have always done it, but it's been one of those that doesn't get sort of spoken about a lot, and so we can definitely put it together. There's a new boat service that's just started that goes up and down the Ionian, that's made it a whole lot easier. So we can basically pair. Paxos has always been paired with Corfu, but we can pair it with also Civita and Parga on the mainland and Lefkas further down the Ionian. So definitely we can put something together based on that.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. I had another question from Mark, which I know just from looking at that, we're not going to have time to answer right now. He's saying with 6,000 islands, with 227 inhabited, is there a list of them and what you can do in each one? I will leave that to the GNTO to answer in the chat box. Maybe they can send you a link or get in touch with you directly. That would be great. Yeah, we would be here all day if we started to go into that. But fab question, and great to hear you're so interested in all that Greece has to offer. So coming back to the family holiday market, Chris W., what advice do you have for agents creating a family holiday itinerary in Greece? Do you have suggestions for the best destinations for those travelling with children?
I think the exciting thing at the moment is that we're seeing more and more families that are looking for itineraries rather than just sort of fly and flop and rent a villa and just leave it there. And so that's the exciting part of it. And I think the best thing for agents is to make sure that you ask the question and ask what the family are wanting to get out of the holiday. So is that beach? What do they need? What activities do they want to do? Do they want to see some history? And even sort of if they don't initially think they want to, normally once you explain what it is that you can sort of see and do, often just as a day trip or whatever else, then they get quite excited about it. So we've talked about the Peloponnese quite a lot today, but that's a really good one for families due to the amount of history and mythology which is sort of all around the Peloponnese. And so it's got an educational aspect, and I've got quite a few family friends where their kids have got quite excited about the whole mythology side of things, and there's more and more mythology coming through on TV at the moment. We've got a resort there called Toulon, which is a great base. You've got everything, long sort of sandy beach with that gently shelves. You've got tavernas on the beach, water sports, boat hire. And then as little day trips during the time there, you can pop off to see Nafplion, which is only 20 minutes away, or take longer drives to see all the other sort of sites that we've already mentioned today. And you're only 2 hours there from Athens as well. So if you wanted to do a sort of a day trip there, a guided excursion around Athens, you can do. So that's the one that we really push if you've got families that are interested in sort of learning a bit about mythology and the history of Greece without being a sort of a city-based tour.
Okay, thank you. And Anthony, coming over to you, am I right in thinking you have a specialisation in family trips yourself? And if so, what would the trips be? Can you tell us about Explore's family holidays?
That's right. So I look after the family program at Explore. Also got two young boys. So I think our objective is to try and prise them away from their mobile phones and other electronic devices. Can't say we're always successful in that, but when I'm approaching designing a family trip, it's really first of all acknowledging that no two families are the same, but trying to incorporate activities which offer variety, will take people a little bit out of their comfort zone. So, for example, that could be via ferrata, it could be stand-up paddleboarding, it could be kayaking, it could be an element of walking or cycling, and to offer a program which incorporates at least 2 or 3 or maybe 4 of these have different elements. So that's what we endeavour to do. Also, in terms of our family program, it's the opportunity to swim, and this, of course, it could be a hotel pool, but some of the best experiences that we've had is canyoning up and abseiling up down a canyon, and actually swimming in rock pools and things like that, which kids absolutely love doing. So it's incorporating those types of experiences, and I think that's what makes a really good family holiday experience.
Okay, fantastic. Am I right in thinking you cater well to solo travellers as well? Are you able to talk a little bit on that topic?
Yeah, of course, yeah. So around 55% of travellers with Explore travel on their own, and I think for this, for me, it's travelling as part of a like-minded group of other travellers, and I've done several of these trips myself, and I've made some really good lifelong friends on the tours, and I think travelling with people who share the same passion, share the same enthusiasm for travel, it's you've almost got a ready-made group of friends to travel with. So that's the first point I'd make. The second thing is that in terms of the way we structure our trips, we don't charge compulsory single supplements. So generally speaking, well, you'll be sharing with somebody of the same gender. But of course, if you want your own room, and you want that option, then of course we offer a single room supplement as well. So it's just giving customers choice.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we've just got the luxury market to cover now before we wrap up, and we'll try and make it as brief as possible because I don't want to keep you for too much longer. But yes, so luxury market. So Chris W, I know luxury is huge for Greece at the moment, especially as Lenny said in the previous session. Do you have the most luxurious itinerary in your portfolio, or a destination that you'd recommend, particularly for luxury travellers? What's your take on it?
Luxury is a strange one for Somerville because we're all about sort of finding the real country. That's our strapline. And quite often, when people look at luxury, it's all inclusive hotels, and you don't really get anything of the culture and everything else while you're here. So we tend to look at it quite delicately. We've introduced places like the Ansanga Hotel here in Corfu, where we know that they encourage the guests to get involved in the local community. They've got projects where they work with the local community, and they offer sort of immersive bits where you can go out walking from the hotel and that sort of thing. So where we try to focus things are where it's a really good luxury standard of property, but we know it's sustainable and it's giving back to the local community. I suppose the traditional luxury ones are places like Mykonos and Santorini, and we got some really top end sort of properties there, world famous ones. And then we try to look at sort of the small boutique properties, which aren't historically known as sort of ultra luxury, but places like Kinsterna in the Peloponnese and that sort of thing. So yeah, we have a quite a weird relationship with luxury, and we're trying to introduce more properties that are sort of five star or whatever, but we have to do it delicately to make sure that we're sort of keeping with our roots.
Interesting. Okay, thank you. And Chris L, I mean, yachting and sailing goes hand in hand with luxury, I would imagine. Are you able to tell us a little bit about your more luxury itineraries, and what makes them better suited to super affluent customers?
Yes, it's very much down to the client's budget and what their interest is. We can, of course, with the itineraries, we can tailor make them to the nth degree, and match exactly what the clients want in terms of whether they want to get off the beaten track, whether they want to go to busy places with lots going on, and so on. So we can fine tune that to the client's requirements. The sort of vessels available, there's enormous choice. There's the large motor yachts, the type that we are seeing being impounded at the moment that belong to oligarchs. Well, there's those sorts of vessels available for private charter, which are truly luxurious, palatial is the way I describe them. For those looking for something more traditional, sailing vessels, whether they are modern high-tech sailing vessels or the more traditional motor sailor, built the traditional way, often wooden hulled and so on. All of that's available, and there is a vessel to suit every budget. The range of choice is phenomenal. The service on board, the more expensive ones, is obviously very sophisticated indeed. Let's say 100-foot motor yacht or motor sailor will have a professional chef on board. We'll have stewards and stewardesses, as well as the captain and the deckhand. And the service is truly very attentive. You can imagine that level of crew, 5 people for a 5-cabin deluxe motor yacht. At the more affordable end of the scale, one can charter a smaller sailing yacht with a skipper on board for as little as £2,500 for a week. So you go to that amount for a week to that amount for an hour is the kind of range of choice.
Okay, interesting. So lots to choose from there then. Okay, well, I think we're going to wrap up now because we have run over by about 12 minutes, and I know you're all incredibly busy and probably have other places to be. So thank you everyone who has asked questions in the chat box. Feel free to pop them in there still. We will be able to answer them in hindsight as well as live. So yeah, any burning questions pop up, pop them in the chat box. And thank you to Anthony and the 2 Chris's for your time today and your insight. Really, really appreciate it.